Uh-oh, Mr. Thompson here with a science video lesson carrying on about DNA, and yeah, I will be carrying on. In this video, we will be talking about what DNA does, what it is made of, and its sort of physical structure and how it's arranged and that kind of thing. Okay, table of contents down below. Check it out. All right, let's get into what does DNA do. Well, first, what DNA stands for. Okay, deoxyribonucleic acid. Very long, sort of confusing sounding words. Okay, that's where we get the D, the N from nucleic in the middle of that first word, and then acid, DNA. Okay, DNA is the genetic code. All right, it's the instruction manual that your body and the cells in your body follow to basically to create the different cells that your body is building all the time. It determines a person's genotype, so the plans, the blueprint for the actual person. Okay, DNA comes in sequences of molecules. Okay, so we'll talk in just a second about the molecules that DNA is made of. And basically, it's a whole string of molecules, and the arrangement of those molecules then determines your physical attributes and traits and that kind of thing. Basic unit of DNA is called a nucleotide. Okay, a nucleotide. And the way that I'm going to kind of represent this is with a puzzle piece. Okay, so DNA is like a puzzle that's put together, and the nucleotide is made of three parts. Okay, it's there's three things that are always in a nucleotide. So there is a sugar, a phosphate, and a nitrogenous base. All right, and we'll go into each of these a little bit more. But basically, if you think of a nucleotide as a puzzle piece, okay, like this, then you can imagine that my phosphate is my little green connector piece up here. The nitrogenous base is just our little connector piece up here, and the sugar is sort of a big piece, the big sort of base piece of our nucleotide. Okay, the sugar sort of everything connects to the sugar, right? The phosphate, right, connects to the sugar. The nitrogenous base connects to the sugar, and then we put a whole bunch of these pieces together. Okay, now the sugar is a deoxyribose sugar. You can go researching, looking up what that means, but basically it's a molecule made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, typically, I don't know if there's exceptions, but this is like just in general. Okay, phosphate, if you know your chemistry, you know that a phosphate is phosphor and oxygen. Okay, combination of those. I'm not going to go into the structure of those molecules, get into your chemistry for that stuff. The nitrogenous bases, there are 4 different nitrogenous bases. We'll get more into this a little bit later. But adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine are 4 different kinds of nitrogenous bases. Obviously, they include nitrogen. That's what nitrogenous, that word comes from. So, but I'm not going to go into more of their structure. Okay. So they're that little connector piece. Here we got phosphate and sugar. Come back to this if you need to, but we'll go on about how this all works. Okay, the overall structure of a DNA is actually a really important thing. It's called a double helix. Okay, and this is my pretty crappy drawing of it. Google image it for much better, computer generated or whatever images of it. But it's this big twisty ladder that sort of comes in a big spiral, and it twists around as it goes around that spiral. So that's why it's a double helix. Okay, so, but if we took that ladder and kind of stretched it out, okay, that twisty thing, it would come out with as a ladder with the 2 sort of sides, what we might call the backbone that holds up the ladder, and then there's the rungs, okay? And you'll notice our 3 parts of DNA, the phosphate, the sugar, and the nitrogenous base are all here in this model, right? The rungs are the phosphate and the sugar. They go down the rungs. Those nitrogenous bases connect. So remember the puzzle piece. The nitrogenous base was going off the side to connect to another nitrogenous base. You'll notice they come in pairs. There's the 2 nitrogenous bases here connecting to one another. And if we draw these boxes around the 3 different elements, we get our nucleotides, right? Each nucleotide is one little set like that puzzle piece from the previous slide, right? So that's all our elements. We got our 3 basic parts that make a nucleotide, and the nucleotides all come together to make this long string, and it twists around in a double helix, okay? Now, these nitrogenous bases, I promised we'd come back to them, and we've got like adenine, like this one, and then thiamine. I've put those 2 together on purpose, and you notice I've drawn a certain sort of style of connection between them, and that is because adenine and thiamine only ever connect to each other. There's the 4 different bases. I'll put my next 2 on here, cytosine and guanine, right? And you'll notice that I've done a sort of rounded end, that those 2 connect together, right? Adenine and thymine only ever connect together, and cytosine and guanine only ever connect to each other. So, for example, if we knew that this here was an adenine, right, then the one, that little pair that it's connected to, we know that it's a thiamine, right? And then likewise, if this one was a cytosine, then the one that it pairs up with would be a guanine. They don't have to go in that order. The 2 pairs can be swapped around, so we might have a thiamine, and then the other side would be an adenine, and same goes for guanine and cytosine, okay? So those nitrogenous bases that connect, they're the rungs of the ladder. They only connect to, to certain ones. It can't be an adenine and cytosine. It cannot be an adenine and guanine, and so on and so forth. Adenine always connects to thiamine, and cytosine always connects to guanine. Gotta know that. Now, this sequence, it might seem crazy, but this sequence of little molecules that are made of nitrogen, and then you got your sugar and your phosphate, right? The sequence that it comes in, it's like a computer program, okay? If you've seen the matrix and there's all the little numbers coming down, or if you've actually seen the programming that goes into a computer program, this is really actually similar to that. These A, C, T, and G, the sequence of those things tells you, the cells of your body, how to build themselves and what to become and how to express themselves, and what, the sizes and the shapes and all kinds of stuff. And it's pretty amazing. It's definitely something worth, learning about and getting to know. So that's it for this video. Look for more videos on genetics and DNA from me soon, and we'll catch you later.